Hi, this is Jack Downs with a video about your Intro to Audacity exercise, which you're either doing after class or perhaps after a quiz while you're in class. Please read through the instructions thoroughly first. You should have them a hard copy, or there's a copy of this instructions on Brightspace, of course. Here's the general idea. You will begin, as usual, by making some folders. But remember, since we're working on Audacity, Audacity requires Audacity requires that you have that you work off from a hard drive, not a flash drive. So we make the folders on a hard drive. I've made this folder in my Documents folder. You'll see I have a 240 folder here, and inside there I have something called Intro to Aud. You make a project folder for this project. Call it what you want. Something that makes sense to you, Intro to Aud. My style generally is all lowercase, no special characters or spaces. That's not a bad practice, although it doesn't really matter here so much. Inside there I made a subfolder called Grading, which is empty right now, and I also downloaded from our download area on Brightspace. Actually, not on Brightspace. There's a link in Brightspace to the Google Drive, where it's a lot easier to download this stuff. Remember, downloading audio and video from Brightspace is a real pain, so go to the link in Brightspace to the Google Drive where you can simply download. When you download it, did they automatically go here? Maybe not. You have to go get them in your download folder or something. Then you have to go cut them, delete them, cut them or copy them if you prefer, and move them into this folder. One way or the other, get them into this folder. There's musics 1, 2, and 3. You don't actually need all those files. You just pick one of them. I got you all three in case you want to listen to one as opposed to the other one, right? It's not that much different. I could just drag and drop onto Audacity, but in general, I think import audio makes a little bit more sense, but it also always means you're going to have to go move around. I'm going to this PC. You may have to go to Windows and Users and find yourself there. I'm in Documents, and so on. So you may have to move around. You could have just dragged and dropped. I'll do that for the next one. I'm in 240, Intro to Audacity. Let's take number 2. Okay. And there it opens up. I could listen to it a little bit. It's a bit strange. Okay. It's a strange file. In fact, you know what? I'm going to close it up and decide, I will listen to a couple others. And in the end, I'm going to take number 3. And this time, I'll just drag and drop it. Okay? It'll open up fine here, too. Now, I suggest that you should be saving a project. Honestly, you'll probably just do this in one shot, and then you'll export it, and you'll be done, and you won't worry about it. But it's good practice to save a project. And to do that, I would do Save Project. Save project as, or save project on the first save is the same thing, doesn't matter. And then you're going to have to navigate to find the folder again. That's the problem. So I'm not in downloads anymore. Wherever I was, I could go to the desktop, I could go to Documents, I could go to 240, I could go to my folder here, and I'm just putting it loose in this folder, not inside the grading folder. And right now it says Music Edit AUP. I could change that to Project if I wanted to make sure I knew what that was, but I see AUP3, I should know that's the project file. So I'm going to save that there, and it saves pretty fast. Okay, so what you have to do here is, I suggest that your goal is to cut this to 1 minute, 60 seconds, okay? How long is it? Well, I can see on my timeline up here that it is actually almost 3.5 minutes, so it's very long. How do I know how long it is? How do I cut it? How do I make it just a certain length? Well, one thing you do is you can select chunks of stuff here. And when I select things, notice that down here in the selection number area, it changes. I say start and length of selection is a good one to be put on. The start of the selection and the length. Or you can do length and end or length and center, but any of these that show the length. So my second one is length now. And length is this one right here. Right? So I could, if I selected from here to about there, I can see if I look down on that menu, it says about 1 minute. So I could take a minute in the middle, or I could take a minute on one end or the other. I could, for instance, select everything after the 1 minute mark, right, from there to there, and I could just hit the delete key. It would go away, and I could scroll back over there and see that that would be 1 minute. Sure, I could do that. I could do it the other way. I could select on the end over here and just watch my selection bar down there to go for, look my numbers down below and go to 1 minute, which would be right about in there. Close enough, close enough. And now I could take everything but that, right? That would be a trim. Here's my trim button on the toolbar, or I could go to Edit, Remove Special, Trim Audio. In other words, that deletes what's not selected, okay? Or I could go to the middle. I could take a time in the middle. This would have made more sense if I listened to it to actually find, I'm going to go from 1 minute to about 2 minutes, and I would look down to be sure. I show that it is about a minute. Yes, it is. Again, I could do my trim from here or there. This is Trim Audio Outside Selection. Okay. Now, it's in the middle of the timeline, though. What do? I grab my clip handle, whatever it's called, clip handles bar here, and I could drag it down to the beginning of the timeline, which would be very nice. And I've got a minute there, one way or the other. By the way, let me Control Z again, and Control Z again. You have all the Control Z's. That's one command to know that you have is Control Z. Here's something else you could know. Let's say I wanted to listen to different parts of it. I could select and then I hit the space bar. Space bar starts and stops. Hit it again, it stops. Space bar starts and stops. Space bar and stops. So space bar starts and stops. I could also, if I have a selection, I could select there and I could hit the B key and place where my cursor is to the start of the selection. I just hit it again and it would start there, or from the selection to my space to my cursor wherever it's sitting. So a B key is important, and C we'll get to a little later. It's called a cut preview, which is also important. So those are some keys to know: space bar, B, and C. Those are some quick keys to know. Okay, I did all that. One way or the other, I decided I'm going to take this 1 minute here. I look down there to make sure it's about a minute. Yes, it is. I hit my trim button. I drag it down to the beginning of the timeline, right there. I don't push it further than that, just to there, right? What else am I going to do this? Well, right now the problem is it starts and stops very abruptly, okay? Because it's in the middle, right? Well, I ask you to fade in and fade out the first 1 to 3 seconds. But how can I tell seconds it's still in this giant thing in 1 minute? First of all, realize my project is much smaller now. I have these zoom buttons here: fit selection to window and fit project to window. Then there's a plus and minus also. And then there's the zoom toggle, whatever. I think that these two, fit selection and fit project, are extremely useful. So you could remember those shortcut keys also. That'd be Control E and Control F. But anyway, if I hit fit project, now my project is fully taking up. Now I could find my seconds here, but you know what? What if I select like the first little chunk there, and I hit fit selection? Now I'm seeing the whole beginning of it. Okay, I see 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Right now, I can bring my cursor all the way back to the beginning with that button there. Skip to start. I can hit play. I see it really starts very abruptly. Good. I'm going to take the first 2 seconds. I say 1 to 3 seconds, and go to Effect, Volume and Compression, Normalize. I think these 3 buttons are fine to have all on, and -1 is a good final normalization step, and this is our final normalization. This essentially brings everything up or down to just 1 decibel away from the top, away from what we would call peaking or clipping. Clipping would be when it goes over the acceptable amount of volume allowed. So I'm going to apply that. So, oops, sorry, I want to do to the whole thing. Effect. It's not going to do very much. Volume compression, normalize, and go ahead and say apply to the whole thing. The whole thing got a little bit smaller. And I didn't do my fade yet. No, I didn't do my fade yet. Okay, right. So my 2 seconds, I went to the wrong one. Effect, fading. I'm going to fade in. So I did normalize for everything. I did effect fade in, and I could scroll down to the beginning, or I could just say, let's do the whole selection. Let's go grab a little bit down here. Last 5 seconds or 4 seconds or something like that. Let's fit that selection. This is the end of it. I'm going to go to, that'd be one, how much is that? That's, my selection now is almost 2 seconds. I'm going to go to effect, fading, fade out. So now, instead of just abruptly ending, it's going to go like this. It's going to sound like, just fades out quietly. Okay, so we did all the things we needed to do, I think. We did normalize, we did fade in, fade out. Oh, didn't use zero crossings. Less important in this clip, but I will do the zero crossings in the next one for sure. Okay, your instructions say to, at this point we need to do our export, right? Yes. So we do File, Export Audio, and we're going to call, no, whenever you get this menu, it's okay with me if you want to play with share-to-audio.com, but we're generally doing our saving on our own computer. And we always need to browse to say where we're going to find it. Mine is in my Documents, 240, Intro to Audacity. This is the final one. This is the grading. And now I could call, I suggest you give it a name. What do I say? Your name and music edit. I'm going to say Jack. First or last name is fine. Music edit 3 MP3. MP3 is what I've chosen as the file type, and I put that in a grading, and I say save, and I say export. Good. Okay, so I made that. If I want to be sure, and you always should be sure, you always should go back later and look in your folder to make sure it's there, and you should listen to it outside of the program. Like you could choose play with media player or play with some other program. I double click on it and it's going to play with media player, and it's playing my length. You've got what you expected. Make sure it's the right length too. You could look at that to be sure. All right, so I'm going to close this up. Now the problem is, the instructions say to close the program and reopen, and that would be fine. You don't really have to. The idea is though, now when I save project, again, I want to save it with do a save as. I don't want to overwrite the other project. These projects are very small, but just in case. So we're going to File, Import Audio, and we're going to go to, this one is Voice Edit. It went to the same place, and now I'm going to do File, Save Project As to give it a new name, and this time I'm going to do Voice. I can just call it Voice if I want. And it's going to go to the same place. That's good, because I was just there. So now it's called Voice Edit is the name of the project, not the name of the clip. This is the name of the project. Okay. And what do I say about Voice Edit? Well, the key things here, you would listen to this again, and as usual, and I'm going to listen to it.
In the city of Plattsburgh, 4th of July parade for audio video productions. I'm John Burgess.
Okay, I tell you in the instructions, I want you to remove the words for audio video productions. And I hope that in my little playing it here, you can hear that. You may not be able to, but I'll turn my speaker up a little bit. My volume up. Let's see, where's my volume? So someplace in here, it's going to be
For audio video productions, I'm John Burgess.
so here, perhaps.
For audio video productions, I'm
That
John
for audio
Burgess.
video production is what we're going to delete out. We also see, though, the beginning and the end of this file. Now, by the way, this is a voice file, so make sure to take a look and see how different voice looks than music. See all those pauses in there, which is a normal kind of a voice pattern sort of thing. I'm going to delete the tip of the tail, delete the tip, delete the tail. We typically have blank space at the beginning and endings of our recordings. We want to, but when we actually come to editing, we may very well be deleting that out if we don't need it for any reason. Okay, so I can use the B. I could use my little, put my cursor different places. Use my space bar to find this spot.
Parade for audio video
It's
production.
down there,
For audio video productions,
and it's going to
I'm
go
John
to around
Burgess.
there. So I'm going to get this area. Zoom in a little bit more. Remember, wherever you're editing, you should be zooming in. And to zoom in, I'm going to select an area and then fit this selection to my window. Now I can listen to this entire thing.
Parade for audio video production.
Okay. I'm going to just scroll back a little bit to the beginning. Oops. I shouldn't have done that probably.
Audio video productions, I'm John Burgess.
Okay. So I've needed to get zoomed in. I zoomed in a little bit more than necessary, I think. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. All right. And scroll a little bit again. Now let me find my spot again.
Audio Video Productions, I'm John Burgess.
Okay, I kind of see the spots here. I can see it goes to about there, right? Because you can see the pauses. Now, I could just play that and listen to it with a space bar.
Audio Video Productions.
For our productions.
Audio Video Productions.
Now, what would that sound like if I deleted it there? I can use the C button. C is cut preview. It's going to play here.
Plattsburgh 4th of July Parade, I'm John Burgess. Plattsburgh 4th of July Parade, I'm John Burgess.
It does remove those words, and it removes them pretty well. If I felt I needed to change the selection a little bit, I could move it around a little bit. You know, maybe I'll move to get a little more space there. I could zoom in a little more to do this. I could move this a little bit over there, a little bit over here, maybe a little closer, whatever. Eventually, though, I'm going to want to do my delete, my deleting out of this stuff. Before I do, this is what I wanted to show you before. Select at 0 crossings. What this does is it makes a very slight change to the selection so that the waveform, the lines that are drawn here that represent that digital audio, that they will be crossing at the 0 mark, at that axis, at the place where they're cut. So it's going to make a very slight change. And you didn't even see the change that it made. If we zoomed in incredibly far, you would be able to see a very slight change to the selection. And now I'm going to hit my delete key. And now I have my new file. Right? I could go back to the beginning if I wished. I'm going to zoom out to show the whole file here. And I can play the whole thing again.
In the city of Plattsburgh 4th of July Parade, I'm John Burgess.
Okay, that's very good. I'm going to leave it like that, except I still need to do my normalize. To normalize, I could do a select all or double click in there. Effect, I'm going to do, and you'll see there's lots of other effects here you can work with, and you probably should work with, and eventually will, and you can play with them yourself also. Normalize, I'm going to say apply. It brings everything up a little bit more, it's a little more volume to work with there. I did all those things, B, C, 0 crossings. I'm going to stop there, but tell you now, of course, I should be saving my work as I go, and you go ahead and export again. And remember, the 2 files you're going to put up will be the 2 you should be saving into the grading folder, which will be the MP3s. I will tell you that one of the errors, common errors people make is they submit the wrong file to Brightspace. They would submit the original file. That's one of the reasons I suggest you make that grading or finished folder so that you keep them separate. And make sure you know where you're putting things. That's so important in this class. Where are you putting things? Where are they? After you did all that, of course, and you uploaded it to Brightspace, then you would, of course, go copy this folder and go paste it onto your drive to keep it as a backup. Because you're working in a lab, you cannot depend on those files being there after you leave that day. Finally, I wanted to mention one more thing that I sometimes forget about Audacity. Listen. You ever get into a situation where nothing works? The play button doesn't work. I can't select properly. I can't delete things. What's going on? Is the program crashed? Is it frozen or something? I suppose that's possible. But what it could very well be is it could be the pause button. If the pause button is used, it can disable lots of other functions. That's why I generally suggest use the space bar and the stop and start button. But it's the pause button is a problem. Can be a problem. So if you use the pause button, it may make different things not work properly. So watch out for the pause button. And I guess that's about it. Please, you got this little assignment, but remember, this is a great time to spend some more time with these files. Try some other things. Play around. The more time you spend with the program, the better. And you'll get used to using it.